Today, it is called the National Level Nanjing Jiangling Economic and Technological Development Zone.
，is a comparison of the spirit of Chinese and British elite education. Welcome.
您好。 I'm afraid that's all my Chinese, more or less, apart from xie xie and one or two other words. But it's a great pleasure to be here to talk to you briefly. And I would like to thank the organisers, particularly my friend Wang Hong and the other distinguished guests and the Minister Councillor for inviting me to come and talk briefly to you about education. I've been going to China with my wife for 22 years now, and we go every year, and we love China very much, and we admire what is happening there, and try to understand the differences and similarities between China and the West. I can only very, very briefly explain one or two things now to you, but if you're interested in anything I say, we have outside a small stand for Cam Rivers Publishing, where a number of books about education and cultural exchange are to be seen, and they relate to a project I've been running in Cambridge for about 10 years called the Cambridge Rivers Project, which is to create a bridge. In Cambridge we have a very famous bridge beside which the Chinese poet Zhu Zhimo wrote his poem, which many of you learnt at school, on saying goodbye to Cambridge. And there is a stone, and in the summer there will be a garden, the first Chinese garden in Cambridge, in Zhu Zhimo's memory. And this bridge is to try to create understanding between China and the West, because the presentations we've had so far have tended to assume that the West and China are very much coming together, which is true, but they come together from very different positions. Chinese and Western civilizations are totally, totally different historically. If you are interested in that, I've written a book which just came out this week, comparing the Chinese, Japanese, European and Anglo-American civilizations, how they work, what their central characteristics are, because each of them is based on different ideas. And unless we understand each other through understanding these different ideas and histories, we will never really work together properly. So I want to illustrate this briefly in relation to education. Now, you may think, if you've been educated here or are from modern schools in China, that our educational systems of the West and China are similar. In fact, they are from totally different backgrounds, and let me just give you some examples. Firstly, our education in the West, mine in Cambridge University and my schools, is based on religion, God, a single God. Our educational system was founded by Christians, and it is still very much indirectly influenced by Christianity. Your education in China is amazing because Confucius, one of the founders of your educational system, was not really interested in religion. So you have had a great secular, non-religious educational system for thousands of years, and ours has been a religious educational system. And unless you understand that, you won't begin to understand the similarities and differences. Secondly, Britain is a class society and has been for many centuries. We have an upper class, an upper middle class, and so on. And our educational system has been based on class education. Elite education, for most of history in our culture, has been to teach rulers who come from rich families and wealthy backgrounds to become the next generation of the aristocracy or the gentry. So ours is a class-based educational system. If you were a poor farmer or a poor worker in a city, there was very little chance that you would get up to the top of our system. Your educational system, as you know, is unique in that, in theory, anyone from anywhere in China can move up through an examination system to the top. So what is extraordinary and why education is so important in China is that it is the one path to social mobility. The one way you can move up through China is through education. In Britain, the one way you could move up was through wealth, through making money, and then you could buy a higher class. And this is a fundamental difference. The third difference is in the economic system. China, Britain for many centuries was a consumer, market-based, capitalist society where trade, manufacture and large landowners dominated. We had the biggest empire in the world, a trading empire. Our whole society and philosophy was based on making money, either here or in another part of the world. China was totally different. It was a peasant society. Almost everyone worked on the land. It didn't have a large overseas empire, little banking, few large businesses. So your historical background is a non-capitalist background, and ours is a deeply capitalist background. And our education was also to teach our children how to make money. Confucian education is not about teaching you to make money, but our education system is about teaching you how to be successful, whether it's in money, in religion, in law, in politics. The intellectual roots of our systems are totally different. Ours is based on a Greek and medieval system of confrontational knowledge. We reach truth through argument, through disagreeing, through believing that the best arguments win. Our system is based on ingenuity, creativity, argument, confrontation, very aggressive. Yours, for 2,000 years in China, has been based on harmony, on accepting the truths that came to you from the past great thinkers. I recently, a couple of weeks ago, read the works, 2-volume works of Xi Jinping on the governance of China, and I was amazed that almost every page there was a quotation from some dead Chinese philosopher. If you read the works of, shall we say, Donald Trump, you would have no references to anyone except Donald Trump, but he's never read any philosophy. But Western leaders, even Macron or Theresa May, don't quote very often, even Shakespeare. So you have a system in which the wisdom was in the past, and the purpose of education is to teach you to learn that wisdom and to repeat it into the future. Ours is about arguing, disagreeing, confronting truth. And finally, the political background to our educations has been totally different. We're just here beside the Houses of Commons, the oldest parliamentary system in the world. And our system was based on, again, argument and confrontation, and the delegation of a lot of responsibility and power down to the lower levels. I was taught from the moment I went to an elite school at the age of 8 to join societies, to join debating groups, to learn how to run my own life. A huge wealth of civil society organisations was very important, as it is in Cambridge, my university now. Because you run your own life. This is what democracy really means. Democracy doesn't mean the Houses of Commons. It means running your own life, as the great French philosopher de Tocqueville said. Now that tradition of running your own life is totally different from China. And China's biggest challenge now is how you move towards true democracy, which has nothing to do with the Communist Party or elections or anything. It is trusting the citizens of China to run their own lives. And one way you will teach them how to do that is through education. Now, I've only been able to just touch on a few things in this short time, but I hope that one or two of you will be interested enough. I have websites, we're making animation cartoons in China, we're doing all sorts of publishing ventures, and through this we hope to help what is undoubtedly the greatest civilization that has ever existed on this planet, which is China, to develop into a peaceful, harmonious, and really happy future. Thank you very much.